Hey, UselessFodder here. So after what seems like a super long wait, it's finally here. The Nightfall 1.7 patch for Insurgency Sandstorm. I've been waiting a long time for this, and I think a lot of other people have as well, and there's a lot of great features in this patch. In fact, it's considered to be their biggest patch ever. So let's go ahead and just dive right into what's going on in this patch. The first thing that everyone's obviously talking about is the night maps. Every map now has a night version where you have to use various forms of either flashlights or night vision goggles, of which there are many different colors, to move around throughout the map and take out the enemies. So right now on launch, the only official playlist for this will be on the co-op mode. And the reasons behind this have to do with people gamma cheating in PvP. But the devs were very quick to note that PvP is totally possible within these maps, and they're hoping that community servers as well as some limited time playlists will be able to fill the PvP need for these night maps. I know it's a little bit frustrating, but I honestly understand why they're doing this. A lot of other games have similar problems with people just tuning the gamma up on their game and being able to see in the dark, and therefore being able to really ruin the game for everyone else. I highly recommend that you guys do check out the night mode on these maps in co-op. It is a ton of fun, it adds a lot of immersion, and honestly it's probably the most fun I've ever had playing co-op. Whether standard or hardcore, both are great. And it's awesome to be able to try the different things, playing flashlight only, playing with IR flashlights, IR lasers, different kinds of night vision, all those sorts of things really add to an awesome experience that I think you'll really love. So now on to the next thing is the new map that they released called Tideway. Now you might have recognized this from Insurgency 2014 as the map Buhriz, and they've changed it up a little bit. One thing they'll say about this map is it probably has the longest sight lines out of any of the base maps that I've seen. Obviously that's one of the big differences between the base maps and some of the modded maps, is the modded maps tend to have these really long sight lines where you actually need to have optics on it. Tideway is really kind of taking that same approach where if you get on the right hillside, you can see almost to the other side of a relatively linear map. So that's one thing that I really think sets Tideway apart. Also kind of the swampy lowland nature with a scattering of buildings rather than being buildings sort of right on top of each other as is in every other map. I think it's a really cool map. It's got kind of this unique sort of more amber or reddish sand to it. And I really enjoyed it. I've only played it in co-op. I haven't played any of the PvP on it yet. But from what I've heard from PvP, it's a really enjoyable experience. And it's one of those things where if people want to play marksman or one of those longer range classes, this is the map that's really going to allow them to shine. Next up, let's talk about the thing that I think really captured the internet by storm, and that's the 5 new weapons that they've added into Insurgency Sandstorm in this patch. Obviously, the first two that you probably heard about the most are the 300 Blackout Honey Badger and the 9x39mm AS VAL. Both of those fit a niche that's a little bit larger than a submachine gun, but definitely smaller than an assault rifle that a lot of people call short barrel rifles, and they are internally suppressed. So the whole point of this Nightfall patch was to try to add in a lot more sort of sneaky weapons with suppressors and things like that. So these really fit the bill, and they are a ton of fun to shoot. The Honey Badger, honestly, is probably one of my favorite weapons. Now, the rate of fire on it, the controllability, and the penetration values on it are still really good. Of course, it does fall off quite a bit at range, so that's definitely something to consider if you're using it. But it just also kind of just looks cool, honestly. I'm not going to lie. The AS VAL is great because of its armor penetration value. I mean, people talk about how it basically fires a sausage round. Once again, that thing falls off really quickly, but in close quarters, the AS VAL is probably the most dominant weapon in the game now. Luckily, that's offset by its extremely fast fire rate, which basically means that you dump the mag in 2 or 3 seconds. The extended mag's almost essential with this, or short bursts, because you don't want to just turn the corner and find yourself pretty quickly without any rounds. The other 2 weapons that are in here are the new Grease Gun, which is going to security side, and the Sterling, which are going to the Insurgent side. So those are 2 new SMGs that you can use also both with different variants of suppressors on them, or you can go unsuppressed with them as well. They're both really enjoyable to shoot. They kind of get this slower fire rate with a bit more kick, which makes it feel really powerful, but still very controllable on both of them. And I think they're really nice welcome additions. And then the last weapon that we're going to talk about, of course, is the Welrod. And the Welrod is sort of this homemade suppressed pistol. Single shot, you have to turn this little knob on the back end every time it fires. And the cool thing about it is they've reintroduced AP rounds with this thing, and so you can actually get one-shot kills with the Welrod on pretty much anybody if you hit them in the chest, even with their armor. So it's kind of a meme gun, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's some aspects of it that that if you see someone run around with a Welrod, they're clearly not trying to do anything other than show off, but it's still really enjoyable to shoot. I highly recommend you use the greased bolt upgrade on this. It makes a huge difference in rate of fire. And honestly, for all these weapons, if you want to see more about them, at the end of this video, I'm going to fire every single one of the new weapons in full auto mode, with and without suppressors, single fire mode, you know, show off all the different customization options. So definitely stay tuned to the end of this video, and you'll be able to see all the different new weapons that are there. Next up, let's talk about the free unlockable cosmetics. So both security side and insurgent side got new cosmetics that you can check out. Specifically, one of the biggest changes for me is that the insurgency side actually got these new hoodies with both the hood up variant, as well as I think they already had hood down in previous versions, but there's new colors in there as well. But if you look at what they call the half wrap, it's the first time we've ever actually been able to see an insurgent's face. A lot of people don't realize this, but one of the big differences between Insurgent and Security side, you can cover the face or not. On Insurgent side, you do not have the ability to uncover the face except for a small hole in the center. With this half wrap, you can now see sort of the upper portion of the Insurgent's face. And so it allows you to, with the hair and everything like that, allows your character to really sort of stand out and look very different. It's a very welcome change for me. I don't think it's going to do what a lot of people were concerned about, where it's going to be hard to tell between Insurgent and Security. I don't think that's really something worthwhile to worry about here. I just think it looks cool. It allows you to create sort of more of like that pseudo-intellectual Insurgent, toss on some glasses and a hoodie, and it looks a lot more modern, a lot less traditional than previous Insurgents did within the game. On the security side, they added a new helmet, the Mitch 2000, which is kind of a cool helmet, and I know a lot of people love this particular helmet, both in MILSIM and in the real world, so it's pretty awesome. They also added this cool sort of dotted desert night camo for all the different various models that can take camo on them, so you kind of look like a cool like ninja operator with this dotted camo running around with your NVGs on. So these cosmetics are awesome, and you know, one of the things that I think people don't give New World enough credit for is, up until this patch, every single thing they have ever added, cosmetic-wise, weapon-wise, everything like that, has been free for the base cost of the game. You know, you buy the game on a 50% off sale, and you're able to sit there for years getting all this free updates. And I think that's really awesome, and I really, you know, want to thank New World for doing that. That being said, they're breaching into now paid cosmetics, and I know this has been one of those things that goes back and forth, and people either for it, you know, or against it, or you know, everyone's got a strong opinion on this, and you know, I can respect all the opinions, but the reality is you know, this game's been out for over a year now. We've gotten a ton of free content from that, and obviously New World, this being basically their only game that they're running right now, they're going to have to continue to find a way to monetize it so they can do follow-on games, or you know, to keep the servers and all these free content coming for this game. So honestly, I think that's something to keep in mind when you do see anything paid DLC. It's just cosmetics. It's just something to look at. I know it's like kind of breaches into a new topic that, you know, other games have these sort of things, but honestly, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And if you can't tell, you know, for what's been on the screen, the 4 groups of things are 2 new weapon skins. Those weapon skins are this sort of dark red, mean-looking one for Insurgency side, and then this kind of cool blue, light blue mottled camo for Security side. And there are 2 full sets of equipment for Security and Insurgent models. So the Ghillie gear set, it has kind of this, obviously, like, you know, a Ghillie suit attached to the hood and to the legs, as well as having a couple other pieces to it. And then you got this Insurgent Nightstalker with this really cool looking helmet. Kind of fits really well with the coronavirus time as well. And then these short sleeves with like the kufi or shamag sort of wrapped around his neck. I honestly, this Nightstalker thing is 100% what I'm going to be running all the time. Maybe not the mask, but definitely the rest of it. Just looks so cool to me. Another kind of well-requested feature that people have been waiting for a long time is that they finally changed some of the magazines and attachments to their proper size. For instance, the Alpha AK has been finally changed to a 7.62 weapon with the proper AKM mag in it rather than AK-74 mag. Extended mags have all been reduced in size to look a little bit more realistic. Flash hiders, those sorts of things have all been changed. So that's really helpful for people who care about the more realistic fashion of looking at these weapons. One of the biggest changes, I think, to the way this game's going to play, and was kind of a surprise to me, even though I tend to be on the in, that they finally added a class unlocking system. So as it stands now, you unlock classes in an order starting from Rifleman to Breacher, Advisor, Demolitions, Marksman, Gunner, Observer, and then finally Commander. And so that's between level 0 and level 20. It's not a huge range of levels. It's not like it's going to take you hours and hours and hours to finally get to Commander Observer. But this is part of what a lot of people like myself have been requesting, that the onboarding for new players not really just allow them to just pick anything willy-nilly, looking at you, Marksman and Observer, but instead to actually learn the game, starting with Rifleman. The most basic one gives you some good options for weapons, but doesn't require you to have a specific role that other people need you to fill. And after they learn Rifleman, they can move up through roles that don't have quite as much importance to the overall victory of the game, like Breacher and Advisor, useful classes, but they're not going to make or break your game. Whereas having new player in Commander who doesn't know what they're doing, asking all those questions, or not even asking questions or talking at all, in your Commander slot, that's really going to mess you up for your game, especially on something like Push. People have been asking for Commander Observer to be locked behind some sort of class. I've heard everything from level 10 to 20. So these restrictions, where basically now you go from Rifleman to Commander, I think will really help to ease people into the game and help teach them how the game actually works, what each of these classes should be doing when they see players with a higher level doing it. And, you know, it'll be better for new players who don't accidentally stumble into a role and get yelled at and then never come back to the game again, which I've certainly heard people talk about online. The last thing I want to talk about, we're just going to skip over the vast majority of the sort of nitnoid little details. You can read them all in the patch notes, which are linked below. But the last thing I really want to talk about are the performance improvements, all the optimization that's gone in this. People, when the CTE came out, were astounded at the fact that night mode got added, a new map got added, all these new assets got added, yet they were seeing their FPS go up 20 to 30 FPS is kind of the average that I was seeing people say. I saw mine go up even like 40. So I've got a pretty decent rig, but people with low-end, medium, and high-end rigs all reported a substantial increase in their frames per second. And overall, the game just feels even better than it did in 1.6. And 1.6 is a huge improvement as well. So I honestly think that this is probably in the running of one of the best optimizations they've done of this game so far. And I really think that you'll notice the optimization improvements as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's going to cover the Nightfall 1.7 upgrade. I hope you're enjoying this game. If you do enjoy this game, definitely make sure to click that subscribe button. I am an Insurgency Sandstorm partner. I have codes that I get to give away. I've got sort of an intel on all the newest stuff coming up, that sort of thing. And I get to work directly with the devs. So I like to post a lot of Sandstorm content here, as well as other tactical shooters. And I also play Insurgency Sandstorm at least once a week on my Twitch, on which I'm live Monday, Friday, and Saturday, starting at 07:30 Eastern Standard Time. Every single week, we play only hardcore shooters like this, Squad, some other games as well. What's going to follow after this is going to be a sort of complete look of all the new cosmetics, including the paid DLC in-game, as well as the new weapons. So it's going to be no commentary, just a quick look at it. I'm going to be tossing a little bit of music over the top of it, but I really want you to be able to hear the difference between the suppressed and unsuppressed versions of all these different weapons. So I'll make sure not to cover that spot up with music as well. But thanks for watching, and I really hope you appreciate this. And of course, I'll see you on the battlefield. UselessFodder, out.
Badass, man. I'm reloading! Yo, hey, I'm loading up. Hey, I'm loading! I need a sec! reloading! Hey, I'm reloading!